Hey, Janet here. So I wanted to give some quick tips when it comes to setting appointments and basically in cold call or outbound phone calls in general. Um, when I first start with a client, they have a tendency to say, here's all our marketing and everything about our products and services. And if they ask about this, you can tell them we do this. And they're all excited, which is great. Um, However, I have to remind them that I'm not here to sell their products and services. The time it would take for me to learn all about their products and services, I, e- e- seriously, even I'm not sure I could learn. I'm sort of joking, but truthfully, it does take a lot of time. So I want to focus or emphasize that, let's say you did have a new hire, somebody that's working full time. Um, Not someone like myself that I can do temporary, like help you get set up, do some initial training, really best practices on how to make it work. So I'm teaching how to actually set an appointment. So I need to know the main value. What are customers saying about you? I might want to go and read customer reviews and say, well, this is what people are saying about you. This is why people really love working with you. We need to talk about that. When I reach out to people, one of my favorite I have many, but one favorite is I will say something like the reason our current customers like us or love us is because of, and I just sort of rattle off three bullet points because we have the best customer service. I don't really like that one, but it may be true that you truly go the extra mile for your customers. Um, will say something like, "We're able to do this." I have a client that does. They do like desktop machinery, so it's an alternative to large machinery for like prototyping, small volume production. And I let them know that it's a great machine to take to shows like job fairs because in the skilled trades industries, there's a lot of job openings, but very few skilled workers. So they hear that and like, oh, that's a great idea. Even if I call, say, a trade school, they might be interested in that machine, not really thinking about using a smaller machine as a way to attract new and to get more skilled workers for the community that they're in. So that's one thing that I want to kind of just focus on to let you know that the introduction, when I first call, people are going to say, this is, ABC company, how may I direct your call, or how may I help you? Um, Things along that line. So you have that time, they're going to listen to what you have to say. So you want to make a strong opening. My name's Janet Schick. I'm calling for ABC Company. And we would like to schedule an introductory meeting with the person that's the decision maker, depending on who my client is, whether it's in the accounting department, makes the banking decisions, or who would be best to look at a specific machine. So it's very simple concepts because remember on the phone, just because we say something doesn't always mean that person's going to receive it the way we might hope. So we speak in very simple concepts and ideas. They can get that we want to schedule a meeting, and based upon what I say, they know whether to send me to the engineering department, operations, finance, HR. I get all kinds of the navigation. So that's something to really think about. A lot of people will say, we really don't need training. I'm not here to teach you how to sell your products and services. What I'm here to help with is get you in front of qualified prospects that have agreed to meet with you or someone on your team. Then that's when the actual selling cycle or process or the buyer's journey. Some people think that's a nicer way to say it. It is what it is. You're wanting a meeting. You want to talk with somebody that has at least said, yes, I will meet and speak with someone about what you have to offer. And I find that when people say that, they actually mean it, and many of them actually will do business. But it's getting them to that point. So I'll say it again because I do repeat myself. I'm not here to teach you how to sell. I can work with you and help sync that up. I'm here to get that appointment, to actually schedule the meeting with a decision maker, or if there's more than one, it's nice to have a meeting with more than one, but usually there's one, maybe two. Occasionally I'll have companies where there might be three main decision makers and they all want to attend. But usually they'll have one, maybe two that say, we trust this executive and they're the one that would head that up. And sometimes it's the president, sometimes it's the CEO, sometimes it's a chief financial officer, sometimes it's a senior engineer. It's when I call, I expect the operator to have a good idea of who to transfer me to. Now, sometimes they're new and they say, I know I've only been here a week. I'm not really sure. That's okay. I'll ask them, could you find out? I'll call back in a few days. And then you can, because I know people have to learn as they're in a new role. And I find that sometimes I call back and they totally forgot. Maybe they thought I wouldn't call back. It's okay. It's about having grace. Things are not going to go perfect. But when I go about my work and calling people, I've called all over across the country. You're just going to find most people really are, they're great people. They have every good intention to do a good job, a great job. And I believe they do. Things just kind of don't always go right. So we have to be proactive and knowing how to have grace when things don't go well. So the other thing I wanted to talk about, specific messaging. I'm working with a lady, she's working with a college, they're doing lunch and learns, and they're trying to build upon the local community as well as reach out to the greater world. But start with local made sense, makes sense. So trying to get permission to send an email and invite them to the lunch and learns, because at the lunch and learns, that's where they give a presentation. They can talk about sponsorships or how a business can promote their self. They're doing a lot of streaming. They're just doing a lot of stuff. So when it got started, they were like, we have all this information. And again, I say, hey, I could put that in an email. I could try to talk to people about it. Again, I can't learn all your levels of sponsorship, all the things that you're offering, because even I'm like, this is a lot to learn. It's not too bad. I mean, over time, I've gotten the main gist of what they've got going on, and it's really great stuff. But when I had to say, when I call, I'm usually going to speak with a staff member, because these are like small businesses, small family-owned businesses in the area. And I made a couple of test calls, and it's how it normally goes. I speak with a staff member and they'll say, oh yeah, you need to speak with Sharon. She's not in, but you can send her an email or leave her a voice message. Okay, I'll be happy to leave her a voice message. I would like to send her an email because it has more information, and maybe she'll reply, because people will reply to an email before they'll pick up the phone and make a call. So I like to do both. I leave a message. I say, hey, we'll be sending you information by email. Oh, we ask. That's the call to action. Take a look, decide from there. And so the email, they want to get permission, and I totally get that. So I said, well, we can't just add them to our like weekly, where they're on a subscription email. It's okay to send one email. I mean, you can send, because of you can spam email people, but you have to have the email be in compliance. Mainly that you're saying who you are, how to contact you, an easy way to unsubscribe. Because if we add them to an automated sequence, they haven't really agreed to that. It might be okay, but you got to be real careful. So trying to figure all that out can take some time, and I don't have all the answers. I'm not the IT technique. That's your stuff. My stuff is, let's just call them, invite them to the lunch and learns, because I can guarantee you, if I try to call and talk about sponsorships, and they're going to tune out. But if they show up to the lunch and learns, and there's going to be other business owners there, these are local business owners. They want to get to know and connect and network with other local business owners. They may do business with each other, but it's a much more cohesive, I can't say it, synergistic type of campaign. So inviting to a lunch and learn is a great way to reach out, start making those connections, getting to know people, building those relationships. Or I could say we want to schedule a meeting, knowing good and well, majority of the time, the decision maker is not going to be available. Again, I leave a message, send an email. So it's a simple way. I could tell you exactly what I do, exactly how I say it. The messaging does change, and I will say, let's try this instead of, because I can't, there's no way people are going to wait and listen to my whole pitch about all the great things about your products and services. So we need a quick, easy way to meet them where they are, where they say, hey, that sounds interesting. I might be interested, but we're not going to give them all the information. So I help you really shorten that down, pique people's interest, curiosity, because I find business owners, especially like small business owners, even medium-sized executives in a company, if it's really going to be something they're interested in, they'll get involved. If there's no benefit to them, they're not going to get involved. I mean, that's just makes sense. So part of with scheduling meetings with business owners is finding out what are really truly the main benefits, and putting that out there because it's strong. And then when people start to be interested, they're like, that is beneficial. There is value in that. And you make it fun and enjoyable, like showing up to a lunch and learn. I've done marketing where I invited people to lunch and learns or like a seminar. Some of them were like, I don't really want to go to that, but I'd like to have a meeting with you. So even just marketing with that simple message, it's a great way to call, because the rejection doesn't feel like you're being rejected. And I say with rejection, they aren't rejecting you anyway. They're rejecting the offer. Or maybe your initial introduction didn't show the value, where they didn't have the interest. So I really help you on that front end, really showcase the very best of who you are, what you have to offer, so you do get those meetings and schedules. And so like having a lunch and learn or a seminar, something like that, whether it's virtual or in person, or you can do a hybrid, kind of like what the college is doing. It's still setting a meeting where in lunch and learns, it's appointments with a group. So you're going to present to a group, whereas an individual company, then it's a one-on-one type meeting, but the concept remains the same. And I've just been doing it for so long that I don't want to say it's easy, but I just understand that if we do this and do this, it's going to work. And if there's going to be challenges, you have to tweak and change things along the way, but the actual steps never changes. I make a phone call, I send an email. What I say and how I say it makes a huge difference. So what I'm offering is where you can have one-on-one training and be in a group environment. So that's the group training. And because we're talking about setting appointments, most of the time you're going to have questions, because if you're having people call, they're leaving messages, they're sending emails, so your information is all out there. It's not like you're sending out proprietary information. If you do want to talk with me in a more confidential one-on-one meeting, because maybe there is something you want to discuss that you wouldn't want to do in a group setting, you can purchase fractional time, like a 15-minute meeting with me. Or purchase 15 minutes fractional time, because that way you're still getting the one-on-one training. You have the option to meet with me one-on-one, but for a lot of people, I think the group training, and it's it's a lot more affordable because it's a group setting. So I also do the one-on-ones, and that can be anywhere from where I'm really working with you to get you set up, or I can do the complete setup for you, start making calls, actually let you hear how a call goes, how someone responds, how I get past the gatekeeper. It's not that difficult when you have a really good, strong approach. Yeah, sure, people are still going to hang up on you at times. It just happens. I think you get used to that. I don't feel like it's a personal rejection at all. They're rejecting the offer. Most people will listen to the reason I'm calling. And occasionally I have some people, hey, appreciate the call, we're not interested. And they just hang up and okay, because they're not interested. They have no interest in the whatever I'm calling about, whoever, whatever client or project I might be working on. Um, so I know that's difficult because when I first started, oh my gosh, yeah, it was like, I can't believe people are so rude. People are not rude. They just tune out, they're not interested. So once I realized that, and it's about having that grace, understanding people don't have to listen. That's okay. Um, because ultimately, when you continue to make the calls, continue to send the emails, make follow-up calls, you're going to find that when you work a certain way, you're going to gain some momentum and in a relatively short period of time. That being said, it takes more time on the front end because when I work with a client and they send me a list, it might be, I've worked with clients where I'm like, this list is so spot on. All the data is already accurate. Occasionally things might change, but that's usually if a company merged or was bought out. Um, and I'm a lot more successful because I have confidence in the list. And then I've worked lists where it just seemed like I'm just spinning my wheels, but I have to give the feedback and let the client know this list, I'm not even getting names of owners, or it's such a, it's like a company that has a lot of properties. I've been called, and sometimes the people that answer, they don't even know where their corporate is. They might give me a corporate number. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And it's like, this is like painful. It's going to take me a month of Sundays. I can't work like that. It's just, I need to feel that I'm really working for the best of my client so that if I know a list really isn't performing, or it just seems like it's spinning my wheels, and maybe occasionally I'll have one or two uh, little nuggets, so to speak, that are worthwhile to stay in touch with. It's really challenging if the list is not the best. So that's something I also like to talk about because not enough people really put a lot of thought into the list. I think they think that somehow people like myself, we have these magical powers. What's the magic code to say? Say who you are and who you represent and the reason for the call. It works like magic, but it's not. It's a lot about seeing people where they are, having grace when maybe things don't go right, or I get transferred to the wrong person. That happens on occasion. I love the gatekeepers because what's not to love? They're very helpful. Some people are like, you got to get past the gatekeeper. But you know what? Especially in small companies, that gatekeeper probably is maybe a family member of the owners. They may actually be an owner. I've had it happen many times. And even in larger companies like that you wouldn't expect an owner to answer, a lot of times they do. Most times they don't because they're in meetings, they're busy, they're doing their job, their work. But keep that in mind that just because you think, oh, that's the operator, they're the gatekeeper, you want to get past them, sometimes they have the pathway. I've had many that said, send me the email, I'll forward it, and they will get back with me and they'll say, yes, we'd like to schedule a meeting. And sometimes they reply and say, hey, I spoke with the owner. They said they're not interested, but we really appreciate the reach out because, we're going to reach out again in about 6 months or so. Usually I say you should reach out to prospects at least a couple of times a year. And that's if you spoke with them and they said they're not interested. It's okay to follow up in about 6 months because things do change. And I've done that a lot, and so you go through that list multiple times. There's just so much to learn, and I will say, if I had not have had really good training, I wouldn't still be doing this type of work. Also, when I started working as an independent, a lot of things I learned, I'm just like, I want to know more about how to access certain information. There's a lot of public information websites, they're free. Using a library, there's places where you can get lists that are very good, or at least a starter list to try out on. So there's just so much that I can help you with. And I don't give that type of information out on something like this because honestly, it's just too much information. It's kind of like, I want to give you all the info, just like some of my clients do to me. So, but it can be a lot, and it may not even be relevant for you and your industry. So, I like I said, I give that training in the group as well as one-to-one types of training. And the other thing is, if you're someone that, and I've had people say, Janet, I start to grab the phone and I literally start shaking. I'm so nervous. And this was a wealth manager, certified financial planner. Okay, he was an executive. I'm thinking he's such a confident individual. Um, how could he be that nervous to make a call? Um, And so, I'm thinking, well, you probably haven't planned and prepared. You don't really know what to say. You want to introduce yourself, and you don't want to seem salesy and sleazy like. So, you know, let's plan it out. Let's practice what you're going to say. Let's do some scenarios, and that can be done in a group setting because you have a lot of other people that you can practice with and get that feedback. And it's just kind of that you release all that nervous energy and you start to realize that maybe you're overthinking a lot, not keeping it simple enough for the person you're calling, because that's really the person you want to think about the most. How are they going to receive your message? And I say, generally speaking, for a reasonably minded person, when I make a call, I introduce and I say who I'm, whether it's calling on myself, for myself or for a client. Most people understand what I'm saying and what I'm looking for. Again, it's very simple concepts, but I think a lot of us, we think we're going to call, we're going to have this long conversation and discussion. If you're a salesperson, you might, because sometimes I've talked with people and they have questions. That's my cue to say, hey, I'm not the specialist on this. My role is to reach out and make aware to people like yourself, and obviously they're very knowledgeable, and I don't want to try to you know uh, say a bunch of baloney acting like I know what I'm talking about. I'd rather say I'm not the specialist, but John or whoever I'm calling on behalf of, they're the ones that would be great to ask those questions to. um, I don't suppose we could schedule something in the next few days or so. And you know what, if somebody's really interested, they will schedule a meeting. So it's not that hard to do. I think it's just those nerves do get the better of us at times. Um, so I say, instead of thinking we're nervous, let's think about how excited we are, because it really is exciting and it's fun. And I call all over the country. And I'm going to always say this, there's great people doing great things throughout this entire country and throughout the world, but I don't call outside the US. Um, so that no matter what you might see on the news, I don't believe any of it, because there's some great stuff. I mean, I'm just in such a great feeling about all the things that are going on, the things that people are building and growing. It's really pretty mind-boggling. So there's plenty of business out there, whether you're a solopreneur or an executive of a large company. Mostly I work one-on-one with individuals or small sales teams, because I find that everybody kind of has their own style. But I also like, that's what I like about the group settings. And I've been in group settings with others, and it can give you that extra, just some support, encouragement, and the honest feedback that's very helpful, so that you can have others that you can bounce your ideas off of. And with that, I went way over time. I'm at 24 minutes. That's okay. So take a little time on the front end to build your starter list. Say, these are companies I would love to do business with. I can see that they have a need for this or that, or these are the types of companies that generally buy whatever it is you're selling. And then with that list, then it becomes we're a process of elimination. You call, you send emails, and you're going to find some are very receptive and some are not. And if they're not, don't worry about those because it's so easy to get caught up in the negative. And that's another important part is the mindset. Always staying that positive. And sometimes it's easier for some people than others. But I think we all know that if we're kind of grumpy, we probably shouldn't be calling. It's not going to go well. And then you're going to be more grumpy. So with that, stay positive, do what you have to do to keep your batteries charged, so to speak. And if you have questions or you'd like to consider one of my offers, please get in touch with me. Thanks so much.